Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I had a way that I wanted to start this that included Richard Lewis, thoughts on Richard Lewis, a friend of the show, and an assortment of other things that I wanted to talk about. But I was legitimately surprised right before we started today because a part of me I thought was dead until moments ago, until I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Thought it was dead, thought this part of me as a sports fan had been buried, never to return. Out of the corner of my eye on one of the televisions was a little bit brighter than all the others, not because they're any different in color and tint, but because of the amount of sunshine coming through one of the televisions that is in here, a brighter sunshine than anywhere else. And I'm like, oh, spring. The televised sports pitchers and catchers have reported. Ohtani has hard launched a wife this morning out of nowhere that none of us knew about.
P's and C's.
That's correct. I can't read the Japanese. Jeremy, help me here. You're fluent in Japanese, are you not?
Yeah, for sure. The translation. To all of my friends and fans throughout, I have an announcement to make. Not only have I began a new chapter of my life with the Dodgers, but I have also began a new life with someone from my native country of Japan who was very special to me, and I wanted everyone to know I am now married. I am excited for what is to come, and thank you for your support.
To whom it may concern.
I mean, real amateur move, right? We just had Spoelstra in town sign an extension after he got divorced. Ohtani's doing it the other way. We Americans have it all backwards.
Or forwards.
He's got... I mean, you.
What do you mean me? What do you mean me?
Did you forget?
Speak your truth, King.
Yes, that's how you... I thought you're not supposed to do it as Tony. It's as Zagacki. You got to do it as Zagacki.
And sometimes it's actually his thoughts, Dan.
That one was me.
But he can disguise them all as Zagacki and protect the character.
That one got through.
The character of Tony. That's what I'm saying.
It happens sometimes,
It's a safe space for
We
him.
created this device for a reason.
Yes, I mean, so it can be slightly less of an echo
Don't
chamber.
poke around.
We'll talk to you about Mitch McConnell in a second. But
Thank you.
I was legitimately surprised. As I felt sunshine and warmth, and it reminded me of all those poetic columns that I wrote 25 years ago about how this time of year feels different when you're still living in cold places and the television is that bright. Like, that used to be what Florida represented to people.
The University of Miami's baseball team has started their season with 18 consecutive home games because it is snowing everywhere else.
If you were to come in here, Mike, you would see what I'm talking about. Everything else has sports television on it, but it's a duller color than what is vibrant and lively coming by my television, which broadcasts to the nation. The boys are in the warmth and they're almost back as you're still covering up because it's still cold where you are. Can you guys tell me what was happening in Minnesota the other day? Because I saw that the daily temperatures were going from like 10 to 65, like yo-yoing around.
Yeah, I think Chicago was 70 degrees one day and then 14 degrees the next.
No, but I think this happened same day. I think the difference between high-low one day in Minnesota last week was ridiculous.
We live this life, though. I leave my house, it's 58, and I get to work, it's 76. Yeah. Like, it's a hard life out here. I put a sweater on.
It's a little different.
I don't need a sweater anymore.
It's a little different.
This is the coldest winter we have had down here in probably 10 years, I'm guessing. And it's only because for a month, it's been 55 some days.
And then it gets to 73. It's hard out here.
I got to take my sweater off.
Today in Minnesota, there's a low of 15 degrees and a high of 48. So that's, a 30-degree swing.
All right, let me put it on the poll here for the rest. A lot of the country is still very cold. At Le Batard Show, do you feel any warmth? I really thought this part of me was dead. Do you feel any warmth when the boys arrive for spring training and you see sunshine on your Florida television?
The Marlins and Cardinals were playing their first spring training the other day, and the Cardinals announcers were the ones broadcasting it, and they apologized to the viewing audience in St. Louis for how beautiful it was outside in Florida and being only 73 degrees. Apologizing to their viewing audience.
It's consensus the best preseason, right? Like, not even close. Yeah. No other preseason. It's just something about it. Like, I'll lose interest a month and a half in. But for this, like, when I see spring baseball, I just love it. I love putting it on, little background TV. It's so good. The best preseason by far. Roy's like, hockey. Hockey's definitely the best.
No, I agree with you. It's baseball.
Okay. Good.
I mean, it's
thank you for just assuming.
It's pretty myopic. We have sold out European soccer clubs coming to the U.S. on tour all the time, selling out the big house. I mean, if you want to go just from a revenue perspective, it's very clearly European soccer.
There's no heart in that.
I want to get to these grades in a second because we really do see the dirty workplaces of people. This was a funny story yesterday. The gossip where you get to, if I simply said to you, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to demand that for one day, everyone who plays football has to sit in front of a camera and tell me the truth about how they feel about their workplace. Like, how do you really feel about everything?
Are we doing grades here?
No. Well, I'm going to wait for a second to do it because there's something else I want to do. But I want people to know that we are going to do it because we really got to sniff around in the laundry room and the underpants of the NFL yesterday by finding out, hey, how do the players really feel about the training staff, the food, how they live, how they're treated as human beings, the weight room. To see the Dolphins get the best grades all around everywhere, straight A's, means that Stephen Ross is indeed great about treating his employees well at the front of a franchise that has made him a lot of money, has made him a conqueror. Stephen Ross has been, by results, a truly terrible owner. Truly terrible. One of the worst in the history of this market. You could say worse than Jeffrey Loria if you want to say, well, at least Loria won a championship. Stephen Ross got straight A's yesterday on how he treats the employees in his business. He was voted the best of all of the owners. There is none better than him. But the owner of the Chiefs, Clark Hunt.
Clunt? No?
Could have been.
Added the L in there. Why'd you add an L?
You're scared with
There's
that
precedent for adding the L.
Terrified.
Okay. Careful.
Gen Z would have said it.
That was such a good joke without the L.
There's precedent.
Yeah.
Australians use it.
Clark Hunt got
Cunt.
Supercharged that, man.
Well, then it's not
Attaboy.
good after you do that.
I felt my coach was disappointed in me, so I was like, I got to go back in.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I give him an A for that one.
What's your grade on that?
We're
Dan?
not live. It's fine.
You were surprised. you were surprised that Stephen Ross scored so highly. I think Stephen Ross. I'm not a Dolphins fan at all, but just as a neutral, I think Stephen Ross is incredible. I mean, I understand that he has one pretty huge scandal with Brian Flores out there.
Trying to get
But
Brady.
The scandal at the heart of it was he was trying to get the greatest quarterback of all time who went on to win a Super Bowl. What he's done in the facilities, what he's done as someone that has been working in media for 18 years and has seen the sea change from Huizenga and the Parcells era of how they treated the media to Stephen Ross. It's much more first class than it ever was back then. I think Stephen Ross has been a tremendous owner.
okay, well, let me explain some of the history to people of how money gets passed down in towns to make men wealthy, real estate tycoons. We've only had a handful of them down here. Mickey Arison has owned one of the franchises, but this franchise, that stadium, that ground, bankrupted Joe Robbie's family. Joe Robbie built that stadium, used some of it, was dumb enough to use some of his own money, bankrupts his family. Huizenga comes in and becomes local rich guy who takes over and wins a championship in baseball and wanted to buy the Heat. He wanted to buy all the sports teams. Wanted to be what Stephen Ross is now. Wanted to build a Disney World around that whole area of the land that Stephen Ross now gets for F1 and other things.
Instead, he just bought a Supreme Court judge.
That's right. That story's amazing. I did not know how. That's on my watch that I don't know that Wayne Huizenga, local sports owner, has bought Clarence Thomas. And
To be fair, it's on all our watches.
I mean, but I was the journalist in town as he built all of Fort Lauderdale out with money.
Yeah, I saw Huizenga's face in the graphic that John Oliver was doing on that story. I was
So
like,
it was
hey,
amazing to watch that. The whole
he's dead,
thing.
so we can't say much.
But so Huizenga makes a lot of money
Like Kobe.
and does some winning, tries to get the best coaches, gets Jimmy Johnson, eventually fails at football, and now they've desecrated what Don Shula and Dan Marino built. And all Stephen Ross has done since then, product on the field, is lose and be irrelevant and give back all of the collateral that the Dolphins gave him and this town before the Heat arrived and before the Marlins arrived. He's done nothing but losing. He's been
and create probably the greatest sporting facility in the history of our planet.
But the reason that I want to bring this part up is because
Using his own money.
the reason I want to bring this part up is there is next to no correlation between how good your ownership is and what the results end up being on the field. You may think Bob Kraft is better at this than others, but the two-time champions are run by F- Clark Hunt.
I'm scared.
F-, I didn't know was a grade. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Did you know F- was a grade? I thought F was the worst that you can do.
If A- is a grade, why wouldn't F- be a grade? It's dead
I'm
last.
with Dan. I knew there was an F+. I didn't know about the
I had
minus.
never seen an F- before
You didn't see me in geometry.
in calculations of any kind.
Now you get a participation trophy.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Did you know there was an F-? Forgive my ignorance for not knowing that. But my overall point was I remember how much criticism Huizenga and the Robbies got because they could never win after the Dolphins became used to winning. Stephen Ross, how do you do the calculations? Mike, you're just here to say that it has nothing to do with sports results. You're here to say
the results matter.
no, he cares, and he's made my facility great, my experience great, and he treats the employees well. Isn't that what you want from an owner?
And you want them to do everything that they can to win, and sometimes that's at a detriment. Is he this middling owner that works against the best interests of the franchise? Maybe. When you see the big scandal being a direct result of his involvement, you can be held hostage by some of these owners at times. Look at how involved Jerry Jones is, but he is a multiple-time champion in that sport, and the thing maybe holding them back at this point is his direct involvement. I do think that there are some lucky aspects. What's going on with the Hunt family? They lucked into Patrick Mahomes. Teams passed on that quarterback, and they're going to be perennially important as long as that guy is playing. But I do think ownership matters. I think we've seen it down here with the Miami Heat. I think Mickey Arison, even though I'd like him to spend a hell of a lot more, has a proven formula of success. I do think ownership matters.
If the shoe was on the other foot and he did everything
this game.
great, yeah, thank you. If he did everything great on the field, but then treated everybody like shit, and the facilities were terrible, we'd still say the same thing, right?
Oh, wait a minute. You think that before yesterday, everyone in the country knew that the Chiefs are run like shit? That the two-time champions are treated like shit?
I hadn't heard that recently.
Like, I had not heard. I don't hear a whole. Oh, hey, you know who got an A+? Andy Reid for covering all that shit up because they love that dude. He gets an A+, but the Chiefs are shit. Like, the Chiefs employees are like, hey, we feel pretty disposable here. Like, in fact, can you guys find.
They're not hugely wealthy, right? A lot of these, I'd be curious to see. I think a lot of these legacy ownership groups that have had the teams down by their families, like their main source of revenue is the sporting team, and they often get hit with that. The Bulls and White Sox ownership group, always notoriously accused of being cheap because that's the main source of revenue for the family.
Yeah, Clark Hunt isn't very wealthy. He's only worth $2 billion.
If I may, guys, I saw this.
He is kind of like a minnow.
Is that acid or liquid
in that
though? That's the
room?
question.
You say this, but I find this part interesting because we really got to sniff the underpants of the NFL yesterday. Like, this is how the employees feel about the people they work with, how they're in charge, how they're treated as humans by the organization. Like, there are a lot of reasons this story is interesting. But I also saw that Clark Hunt at the Chiefs facility, and I need your help with this because on the way in, I wasn't able to get this edited to make sure that I have it right. I saw a video of Clark Hunt's suite at Arrowhead Stadium, and it's 6 bedrooms. It's a home. It's not a suite. He's got the man lives inside. He has a home inside of the stadium that acts as his suite. And I was trying to verify if it was real or not, and we ran out of time before we started here.
I don't know how much space that stadium has. If that is indeed the case, I wish he would give some of that up because as someone that has done the hospitality lounge at Arrowhead, I can't believe that that's actually hosting World Cup games in 2026. It is such a dated facility. Your legs are in your chest the way that it would be at the old Yankee Stadium. It was just built when people were smaller.
Except for this luscious apartment.
He's got 2 stories?
It's 3 stories.
What?
It's 3 stories. No, he's got a home.
Fireplace?
Inside.
I didn't even know that stadium was capable of that.
But it's real. All of that is real
I mean,
because
this looks real.
Yes, and I continue to wonder whenever I go anywhere in the internet, I'm like, this can't be real. How is this real? And if it's real, how does not everyone know about it? Why? How is it that I'm just now learning that you would agree with me, right?
Winning cures all, Dan.
Okay, but wait a minute. You guys would agree with me. Pretty well covered sport? Yes. Kansas City, we all remember pandemic, football's going to save the country. They boo unity in Kansas City. Remember that?
Boonity.
Yeah.
They booed unity.
I mean, you certainly remembered it.
And then they win a couple of championships because Mahomes solves all and Kaepernick, all that stuff. Mahomes says, stop that, and then they stop it. And at the center of the spectacle of a sport that's covered very well, you guys are telling me that, like me, you're learning yesterday that the Chiefs are run like shit and that their owner's a baller who's got a home in the stadium? Like, you guys knew that?
Well, no. And to be fair, I don't think we know that now. All we have is this one data point.
That's right.
We also have a Nesson article from 2014 about the multiple living rooms inside this home that's been built inside the stadium. And by the way, I was wrong about the $2 billion. It says the Hunts, as a family, they're worth $15 billion.
This article can't please you. You're ripping Stephen Ross for getting straight A's.
No.
You're ripping the Chiefs for getting bad grades.
Okay,
What does this all mean?
Okay,
Who's got a
Chris,
C?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. I appreciate this. We'll get to the gossip in a second. F- coach. You guys got the F- coach? Did you see the F- coach?
The Hunt family is actually super lucky.
He's no longer a coach.
The Hunt family is super lucky, not just because they have this quarterback head coach tandem, which you can't strip away their hand in that, but they're a border town. There's 2 different Kansas Cities. When it comes to publicly financing their next stadium, they get to pit one state against another. They hit the jackpot.
That is correct. And in the middle of all of this gossip, Josh McDaniels was the worst coach in the NFL last year. F-. Players really, really hated him. Man, they could turn this into a reality show. Just sit these guys down and talk honestly about your employers. Tell us why you're giving those grades. What do you mean the Tampa Bay Bucks are rooming together on the road?
And paying for it.
What do you mean? No, if you want a room
Won a
for yourself, if you want a room for yourself, you got to pay a couple $1,000. Otherwise, you got a room with somebody. What? This is a multi-billion-dollar organization. What?
Get an extra
What
hotel room?
What are you doing?
We don't room with people when we go on the road.
What are you doing? You're the NFL. Can you imagine if I said
You needed the Bucks to know that the Glazers were bad at owning.
No, but I didn't know this. Did you know this? You're going to pretend you knew this.
Oh, your American minds. It's cute sometimes.
All right. I'm gonna make it so that Stugotz and Tony have to room on the road together.
Perfect.
He'd love that.
He'd love that.
There's Stugotz.
Sigs inside.
I would say if you're from Miami, I would love Stephen Ross just for the shade at the stadium. Yeah. Did you ever go to a Sunday ball game at that stadium?
So, dude, game changer.
My skin would bubble.
I think it's the reason I currently have skin issues. It's because of going to all those games on Sunday afternoons.
All right,
Issues.
Can I just so thank you for correcting me, Chris, because yes, you are right that I might sound a bit conflicted here, but here's where I am not. Because I've seen the history of sports in this town, and I've just heard so many years that the problems with the Dolphins begin because of the leadership at the top. Like,
I'm just saying, though, your perception of Stephen Ross, I hear way more of what me and Mike say about him.
Understood. And so I'm telling you is that I'm coming from an antiquated time with what I heard the criticism of the Robbies, Huizengas, and everyone be. Whenever it is there was an absence of leadership in the organization, it always rose above the coach's fault. It wasn't the front office's fault. You lose for 10 years, 20 years, Shula's legacy, it's because you've got a rotting organization. You're not Bob Kraft. You don't know how to run your place. Yes, Stephen Ross locally has a very popular reputation because of all the reasons you mentioned. But I am with David Sampson when David Sampson says, well, the results haven't been anything, and it used to be that fans didn't care how we were treating the employees. As long as we got the results, Ross has gotten no results. They're going to pay Tua now. He's going to be one of the highest paid players in the league.
No one squeezed more out of a single title outside of maybe Paul Pierce than David Sampson.
Okay. Regardless, I'm still telling you what I'm telling you is so, right? I can call him one of the least popular owners in the history of South Florida sports because of the results, and then have this report card thrown in my face, and you would say, no, he's a good owner.
Yeah, I think if you poll South Florida sports fans, they'll just say that because people tend to conflate on-field success with how good their owner is. I think that's ingrained in fandom, especially in the social media age. It's just from where I'm looking, where I can disassociate myself from the emotion of on-field results. As just a South Florida sports fan, I think he's done an amazing job from where things were, from dealing with that front office and group to attending sporting events at that stadium. I don't think what he's done with that stadium is revolutionary. There isn't a place like that on the planet. I think he's been incredible,
Steven,
and to do it with largely his own money, too. What else do you want?
Also, Stephen Ross, I should tell everybody in the audience, as graded by his employees, his rating here wasn't just best in the sport. It was near perfect. They're asking their employees questions, and the rating is near perfect for their owner.
You have Formula One, world-class tennis. This summer, you're going to have the Copa America final. You're going to have 6 to 7 World Cup games in 2026. The guy's killing it. Killing it.
And has it changed your perception in the last week? Do you think of Stephen Ross any differently seeing this?
What I would say to you is that if you treat your employees well, if in that league, which makes so much money and still finds a way to be Clark Hunt, where you're not distributing it among the people who are working with you, so that the players are noticing how small their seats are when they're the big people and the staff is up front. Like, they're noticing, why is staff in first class? We're the economy. We're the 2-time Super Bowl champions. Why don't we get more of this guaranteed? I see from that perspective how it is that anyone in that sport who climbs to the top of ownership and is viewed as seeing the players and treating employees most humanely, then yes, I would have to alter my opinion on how it is that I look at him.
It is a massive achievement.
Bishop to Rook 9.
To change an over 50-year-old man's mind in this country. You do not take that for granted. Ever. Anytime you get a man of that age to admit he was wrong about something, wow. You can move mountains, my friend. You can move mountains.
What if employees at Meadowlark Media got a similar survey? What do you think would happen?
Let's do lunch right now. I'm going B+.
I'm going A+.
Yeah,
You know what? Too healthy at times, but
too healthy.
You know what? Wait a minute. Let's do this. I would really like to actually do this because we should make that a segment.
The anonymity protects you.
Very important anonymity.
Are
you
you
sure?
And outside, boss, with this survey that you've given me,
as you look me in the eyes,
truthfully tell you that you're about, incomplete grade for me. Personally, it's incomplete. I was sold on a vision.
I give you A.
And I'm still here.
A+.
Well, okay, I'd like to do this honestly. If I'm calling for the NFL to do hey, can we sniff your underpants and find out how the employees really feel about the bosses? I think we got to figure out a way to do that. And the other thing I wanted to do.
We'll have Awful Announcing reach out. We're ready.
We have to.
Independent.
Chris Cody's not feeling confident about the montage he put together in service of Richard Lewis and our memory involved with the show. He's worried about how long it is. And
Well, how long is it?
Right now it's at 14 minutes. Roy's combing through it, but I think it's just so many funny moments with him. It was
14
hard for me to
minutes.
cut stuff.
14 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, it's your show, pal.
the other thing I wanted to get to, and I don't know that there's something I miss more from anything that we've done in the last 20 years than the ability for our audience to creatively compete against each other to make fun of me. And they do it by text. And now when I'm in a wrestling costume, they have given me an assortment of wrestling names, that what my wrestler would be named, because yesterday I was in a Nacho Libre costume. So you guys tell me from among this list of names which you like the best for my character, my wrestling character. Cold Stone Cream Austin,
that's
I mean, you're leading
We're out
off.
the gates.
Yeah.
Entree the Giant,
I mean, these are stand-up triples.
Good two-hole hitter right
Really
there.
good.
Brutus the Barber Cheesecake,
Slap single.
Hulk Hoagie,
That's your cleanup hitter?
The Ultimate Warrior,
Struck out looking.
Thick Flair,
Single.
Yeah. Single.
Thick with 2 C's,
Yeah, no, I got it.
Triple H Cups,
Oh, no.
Struck out swinging.
Flan Cena,
I didn't even get that, so
Got hit with the
strike
pitch.
out.
instead of John Cena, Flan.
Yeah, no, I got
the
it.
custard, the
Yeah.
Cuban.
Okay, got
Way Mysterio, Filet Mysterio, Souffle Mysterio,
Three
up,
straight
down.
outs.
3 up, 3 down.
Tetas Roja. It's just red tits.
Yeah, I don't think
like
there's
that
a-
one.
I
Triple.
don't think that's derivative of an actual wrestler.
El Aso Wipo, Mr. 305 pounds.
Yeah, no, these are all strikeouts.
All of them? What,
Came out of the gate strong.
what about red tits?
That's great. No.
Popped out.
Anytime you say Teta, that's good.
Razor jamón. Spanish for ham. ham is funny. Just the word ham.
Jamón is too, by the way. Jamón is too.
Even funnier.
When you're doing that, you do miss Stugotz laughing, even though he has no idea what you're saying.
I do miss that, of course. He's going to have a book published. He's getting the money in advance from the book dealer, Random House, not a Random House. It's a big publisher. He hasn't written it, and now money is coming in from our fans in ways that put him up atop bestseller lists.
And he's still going with a ghostwriter in the age of AI. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
He should probably just have a book with blank pages in it, right?
It was a pitch that we received.
Oh my God.
Oh, it warms my heart.
There he is.
Oh God, it's if you can, Chris.
I feel safe now.
Chris, I will
Familial.
tell you, Chris, here's the future for you in this business. If you learn how to manipulate those sounds so it feels like his spirit is here supporting me with fake laughter, you will get a better me and you will get less of him, and that's how you will usher us into retirement. Yes, it'll be lovely. I want to remind people that the Kansas City Chiefs, with the worst organization we found out yesterday, even though they're two-time champions, also, and this is underreported, had a bank robber fan who called himself Chiefsaholic, and he became famous. He became a famous fan. So your two-time defending champion, more famous than ever because of Taylor Swift, have a bank robber fan who is now, he's going to get like 50 years in jail. He's got to return $532,000 and an autographed Mahomes photo, which seems excessive. It seems cruel. And then his attorney, I didn't think this was a real thing. You talk about AI, Mike. I thought this was a spoof. I thought I'm watching this on the courthouse steps with some trash in the background, and I'm thinking, no, this is Funny or Die. This is a comedy team. This isn't Chiefsaholic actual attorney.
From the beginning of this case, folks, the government has been blitzing, and Xavier's pocket was collapsing. But today, Xavier stepped into the pressure. He took responsibility for his actions. He stood up in court, humble and repentant, and admitted what he had done. Now, if I know anything about Xavier, and if the Chiefs Kingdom knows anything about Chiefsaholic, we know that he doesn't give up. We know that if he stumbled and he fell, he didn't let his knee touch the ground. And that's because he's capable of doing a great thing. And he knows that there's still hope. We still have a lot of work to do on his case, but Xavier wants everyone to know that he loves the Chiefs Kingdom, he loves Kansas City, and he hopes that you'll rally to his support. Thank you and God bless.
If I framed that differently and just told you that was The Daily Show, The Daily Show had hired a paid actor to do that. The Chiefs have a bank robber who's going to jail for a long time with the misery of, I used to be our most famous fan. And now it's that Taylor Swift. I used to get my entire identity as a Chiefs fan, and let me explain something to you. I'm a bank robber. I rob banks. I think it's to support a gambling habit. I think it is nice. It tickles me. His voice. How many of those do you have? If you've got a variety of them, you could tickle me for the rest of the show. You got to get better at it. That didn't seem like a real thing, did it? You're watching that and you think that looks like a spoof.
The hard R on Xavier threw me off.
That was crazy. Xavier.
Young Charlie Casterly over there really forcing that hard R.
I find myself bemused by the fact that as much as we cover this sport and we cover the holy hell out of it, we have this going on at the top of that sport, and I can't engage you guys in a Tua conversation because what the Chiefs have figured out is how to remain championship worthy when you have the best quarterback and you pay him correctly and you have him cheap at the beginning of the career. He develops a relationship with the coach. The coach gets an A+ from the staff because he's making the entire thing run, and Taylor Swift surrounds it and makes you the biggest thing in the biggest thing. It's pretty amazing to learn as a journalist yesterday the Chiefs are run like shit.
It's become fact. We don't have the data points. We know that their building is super old, and some people don't like.
But
the
I think of the Bengals that way. I think of the Bengals.
Yeah, again, the same thing. These franchises that have been handed down, where the main revenue stream is the actual team, you'll run into that.
Did you see the notes on what the Bengals have to go through as far as their like shower and the toilet?
No,
they only
look,
have 5 working toilets, by the way.
Tony, the Bengals, I didn't read yesterday's Bengals stuff. The only one I knew, I'm not plugged into football this way. Maybe Peter King knew this stuff. Maybe probably Mina and a bunch of others. I did not know this stuff. The only organization in pro football in my modern age covering that sport, as it's gotten very wealthy, known to be cheap, was the Bengals. They weren't trying to actually win. They were just trying to keep the business afloat, and they were cheap in a million different ways. And it didn't feel like you were at a top-tier organization to be playing for the Bengals because they were doing it cheap while everybody was making money. I did not know that about the Kansas City Chiefs, our 2-time champions. And I'm not sure if America knew it. I feel it's not exactly journalism because it's just, a bunch of players talking anonymously, just asking about their work conditions. But I appreciated the honesty.
All of this just proves what we already knew. Quarterbacks are the most important. It doesn't matter what your training staff's like, your training room, your facilities, how your owner treats you. If you have a good quarterback, you win. And if you don't, like the Dolphins, A's everywhere. What does it get us? Nothing.
From Cincinnati, from the actual report cards, this is under Cincinnati's tab. The players reported that half of the showers in their locker room don't function properly, lacking either warm water or sufficient water pressure. They also mention a persistent plumbing issue, leaving them with only 5 functioning toilets for the entire team. Last year, the Bengals didn't provide 3 meals a day for their players. This year, they do, but only on Wednesdays.
I'm just looking at this whole report card graphic for the first time. Green Bay's number 3.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm calling into question all of this.
Tony, how are our grades coming along?
Our grades, we're working on them.
All right, let me find out what's happening here. Are we doing lunch? What are the categories? Can I at least get some categories from you guys if you're grading your work environment? What are some of because they got training staff, they got cafeteria,
We got vibes.
Vibes.
Vibes are important here.
I'm working with the video team on putting together our report card. It should be coming up soon where we're putting the final touches on
you're
it
working
of
on it.
Anonymity. We've got only a couple left. We should be
Dan,
getting
don't
it
pressure us,
very,
okay?
very quickly.
Dan, it takes a little
By the way,
bit
be
to
careful.
build a graphic.
Be careful because you're obviously a part of the graphic, and we
Yeah,
got
you
to
don't
make
want
sure.
You don't want to.
I don't want to change the grade on you.
Person that's putting it together.
I don't
Someone's
change the
grade
grade.
just went down.
All right. Can I ask a couple of questions I want to get to the grades, and we will, because I think there's some funny stuff here. But when you hear the reports that Caleb Williams was paid $10 million for the last 2 years, NIL and endorsements, and they got him cheap, by the way, like that's about the going rate for a starting quarterback, and it's not going to stay that cheap very long.
It's not just NIL. It's NIL plus other endorsements because
Yes.
NIL's afforded this path.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
But when I tell you, $10 million over the last couple of years, I asked this question sincerely. How does Reggie Bush feel about that?
Oh, at that school? Yeah.
You must be infuriated.
I mean, they
That
took his Heisman.
Give him the Heisman back at least.
They took his Heisman. The other question I wanted to ask you was about Tyreek Hill and paternity suits. And just it seems like in the last year of Tyreek Hill's life, there's just a lot of volatility. It seems that life is a bit explosive. There are a lot of things happening around Tyreek Hill that you're not reading about happening around all of the players in the league.
Here's a tweet from Black Sports Online. In the last 12 months, Tyreek had 3 babies, got married, got divorced, stayed married. His house almost burned down. He almost had a 2,000-yard season, and he's presently being sued by Thick Milk for breaking her leg for tackling her in his backyard.
I, for one, am shocked that Tyreek Hill has volatility going on. In
I
his
know.
life.
But no. Okay, it cannot be shocking and still be a lot. It can still 7 children and 4 paternity suits, and we just got done with Hard Knocks showing us the inside look of this interesting team that's getting all A+. It's getting all A+ everywhere, even though all it's done is lose for 2 decades because they got a couple of new guys.
Well, I will say these scandals, if you could even call them that, I mean, it shows a marked improvement on the man's character.
My response to everything Tyreek Hill, it doesn't work on a podcast. I'm just shaking my head. Let's all do it together.
Okay, that's just it.
A lot of silence there. Yeah.
Oh, so
No, but like they'll understand. People on the podcast, let's all do it. Just for a second. Just. All right. Back
It
to
happened with me naturally because of that idea.
well, no. You know what? I'm with.
It was Tyreek Hill. I'm telling you. You think it was me? It was Tyreek.
I'm with Chris Cody on this one. Us sort of shaking our head in shame, but not saying anything. But you know what we're saying.
Exactly. It's just that's all. That's enough. That's all that needs to be said.
But that's.
Dude, you liked it.
Nothing more.
Enough said.
It's perfect. I want an employee report card. I believe that the listeners and the viewers of this show would enjoy. They'd even like to hear from twice as many of you, I'm sure, about the inner workings of what it's like to work here, because it looks like a hell of a lot of fun. Surely it isn't. Surely it isn't. Surely these people do not look this ragged because every day is a merry ride over rainbows. Tell me, Chris Cody, where are you on both our report cards and getting to these report cards for the Commanders and for everybody else in the NFL?
Well, if this was, I would forge the signature. I would not have my mom sign the report card. Wow. You guys ever have that when you were young? You get the report card and then it didn't do so great, so it's like, I don't want my mom to see this, even though my mom always knew when they came out, so I could never actually do this. But I've always wanted to be the kid that could forge my mom's signature.
You forged your parents' signature?
Oh, shut up. Everyone did.
I forged my parents' signature, just never for a report card because my grades were always pretty good.
Dork.
If you didn't, that's the more indictment. Like, every kid at some point forged their parents' signature.
It was the progress report that really got me because I wouldn't really get started until like halfway through the 9 weeks. Like 4.5 weeks is when I would really start. All right, I got
Jimmy Butler of education.
Exactly. I was like, all right, I got D's across the board, but I know I can take them to B's and maybe a couple C's in the last 4.5 weeks of the semester. The problem is that progress report at 4.5 weeks was damning. So there was times where I'd have to bite the bullet. And here's the difference, guys. And I'm going to tell you, young listeners, right now, I'm here to help you. Uncle Tony's here. So what you do is this. There's going to be one time, Dan, there's going to be one time that you got to bite the bullet.
Let my boy cook.
And give your parents the progress report without falsifying their name. Okay?
Because you got to see the signature?
Because you see the signature plenty when you're a kid. The thing is, you got to let them know, hey, didn't cut it this week, this 9 weeks. Here you go. Just so you can see it. After that point, they'll put the fear of God in you. You'll kick it back up in the last 9 weeks, in the last 4.5 weeks of the 9 weeks. But then going forward, you sign off all the signatures. Hey, look, I got D's, but that's not. That's
I'm here for Uncle Tony's. Listen up, young people. I've got a highly a grift for you.
Yeah. Our average 45-year-old audience really appreciates that.
I'm coming for the new generation, Dan, of the new generation of the Le Batard Show. I'm helping them.
Younger and smarter.
Kid listening in your dad's car. Right?
Exactly.
Mike, I've been surprised recently. We're still in the 20s somehow. I don't know how that is exactly, but Tony helps there. Jeremy, you can't have a lower grade than B in your entire life of getting report cards, right?
I got a C+ for 1 quarter in calculus, and
you cry?
It was devastating. I still blame it for the reason that I didn't get into a particular college because...
What college? Name it.
It was UF. I didn't get into UF, but I got in everywhere else I applied, and it was a major gripe. I never, on progress reports, I was like excited to bring those home because I was always like A's and B's, baby.
Man,
it was the most exciting thing.
Totally different world I lived in.
Oh, it was
I did the
awesome.
Tiger Woods fist bump for a C+.
Big dog.
Yeah,
I'm right there with you on the opposite side of that handshake.
If I had less than an A, like I was genuinely upset.
Yeah, Jeremy, your life has been an unbroken boulevard of green lights.
That's exactly right.
It's infuriating.
Yep. Yeah, it's really it comes up in therapy quite often actually because a lot of imposter syndrome. Because I'm like, how does this keep being so easy?
I wasn't a great student, but my advice is have a parent die. Oh, what a load off!
Put it on the poll, please,
I'm gonna write
Juju.
that down.
Put it on the poll as my parents are in their 80s. Have a parent die. What a load off. Mike, that's brutal.
Huge relief though. She was feisty. You did not want a bad progress report around her, let me tell you.
Well, if you're going to have a parent die, have it the one that's more...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once my dad was left around, I was like, okay, sub.
If your dad had died, you would have been screwed still.
I ran away from home because I got a B, and it's a B, and it was the only thing my dad.
That's a good grade.
Ever mentioned.
Why are you running away for a B?
No, because my father.
Poppy?
The only thing. Yeah, I was.
It's a damn good grade.
I was a senior in college.
I would have ran.
I'd peacock.
I ran home like the prodigal son.
Oh, B?
I had like a Q3 1 year where it was close to a 3.0. I was like, Guess I'm Einstein
Dude,
now.
my sweet spot, one time I got all B's and a C. I was like, what a king I am.
The worst academic experience I had was when I was in college and I got a B- on one of my grades, and so it put me on academic probation for the honors college.
Oh, okay.
And so, I almost didn't have an opportunity to be the team leader within the honors college.
Not going to say anything.
You guys shook out of me. Like I'm actually shaking out of my body something that you have you have triggered. A legitimate childhood trauma, not now. A legitimate childhood trauma because I'm just now remembering that my father, who was impossible to please, I was always getting straight A's, and I got a B, and it's the only time he commented on the report card at any time. I ran away from home in whatever it was, 4th grade, 5th grade, and got to the end of, a bus stop a couple of blocks away. And I'm like, well, I'm a kid. Now what do I do? Like after an hour, like I've run away, but I'm like, okay, I'm really hurt.
How much easier it would have been had he just been dead.
So put it on the poll. As I said, Juju, have a parent die. What a load off. At Le Batard Show. How is this list looking? Who's put together the list of categories for how we're doing around here as employers?
Dano, I went around and put together a list for all of our team.
Uncle Tony did it.
Yep. And we came back with a grading scale that I think you'd be proud of. I went to every employee, got it anonymously, clearly, and did all the calculations. And we put them up here. Let's put them up on the screen for everybody. I'm going to read it for the podcast audience. So treatment of families. We get an A here. We're a family. We love families around here. We're big family people. Food and cafeteria.
Valerie gets treated very well.
Yes. As all of our families do. Food and cafeteria.
But not as well as Valerie.
A-. I don't know why the minus there. I think maybe Danny Benitez said something about something. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Jodedera, we got A+. You know how that goes, Dan.
Yes, so that's just you guys,
Tomfoolery,
yes,
yeah. I should have put tomfoolery, but I think Jodedera was better,
Yeah, okay.
It could
This
be.
would have looked very different if we were still at the Clevelander, by the way.
The whole list would have looked
Huge
different?
upgrade in facilities
Yeah,
over
huge
here.
upgrade, yep.
Can we do the Clevelander? Can we?
After
You
this,
don't want to do that.
After
You don't
this,
wanna
we
do
could
that.
do it.
Yeah.
We do that. Locker room, we
Gun
get
violence
an
A+, by the way.
Locker room, we get an A. Look around here, it's a beautiful place. Support parking C. I take the train, so I actually.
First I'm learning of it. What a
recused
good thing
myself
to
of
learn
this.
there.
Yeah,
First
parking.
I'm learning of
C-.
it.
We have to go kind of high up.
Yeah, so people didn't really like the parking.
Your experience
situation.
with parking is a little bit different because everyone else has to go up 12 more ramps.
And at the Clevelander, it was only 4, right?
And Clevelander parking garage was worse, pal.
shit on the floor.
Yeah, look, anyone that wants to complain about the parking sitch here, please take a moment to reflect on your Clevelander days.
But if I may for just a second on, you guys do realize we're wildly overpopulated, okay? I don't know if people know what's going on in South Florida right now, especially on the beach, but they just run spring break out of here. Like now they're just being aggressively like tossing economies and people out because no, we don't want too much. It's $100 parking, and it's because we're so overcrowded with the rest of the country fleeing down here. We're so overcrowded that we live in a place that has no place that can build out anymore into stuff that's not marshland. So everything goes straight up. Everything goes straight up, and it's the least affordable housing market in America. Hialeah's like 5. And everything's going straight up. And so we're going to be parking in the sky from elevators 60 floors up for the rest of our time in whatever this downtown is.
Well, right now our report card says C. So there's obviously room for improvement. The second half of the 9 weeks, we're bringing it back. Let's put the report card back up. Support staff, A. I mean, what an incredible support staff we have around here, please. Thank you, Stu.
Weight room.
Weight room, A+.
Yes.
I mean, Dan, you know how I see you in there putting in work.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
We all
Iron
saw
Temple.
yesterday. You put in that work.
I have been putting in that work. This is funny that you guys are looking at this here, though. This looks like you just went to Frankie and said, Frankie, your security, what should you get as a grade? And he said A.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's how that
No.
worked, yeah.
No, he said A+, and we were like,
No, he's a C+.
Temper expectations. Whoa.
C+.
C+.
He's the last line of defense between people that are using that bathroom and the 3 rat finks that continually don't put the toilet
Leave
seat
the
down.
toilet seat up.
Sorry about that.
This keeps
Security A, I'd give it a triple A+. Team travel A. Very nice across the board. Head coach D for Dan.
I mean, this
for
is,
Dan
this
though.
is a
D for
brutal
Dan.
thing to
D
learn.
for Dan.
This is a brutal thing.
But you're
to learn.
also part of ownership, Dan. So A.
You know what the A in Dan stands for?
I do believe it's a good score.
Pretty good across the board, if I'm going to be honest, Dan. I don't know. There's a lot of room for improvement on a couple of things, but we could do a kick-ass job.
This is crushing to me.
Sorry.
I want to run away right now and sit on a park bench for an hour like I did from my father because I brought home a D. A D in coaching.
For Dan, though.
I feel like Mike's been coaching us for a while, though.
Only your name was Alan.
Yeah. Right now we got a bit of a interim situation. You got a Coach Jim Bates situation going on right now.
What was the most interesting thing to you guys about those stupid grades? About the fact
Green Bay being third, that you're better off not having an owner in your upper echelon.
A little communism there.
Do we understand? We just generally understand how you have to negotiate better terms so that your players, there are 53 bodies on the court, or on the field for your team, that when they travel, they should have their own room. They should all have their own room.
Not if you're team building. There's a reason for it.
True.
I can be talked into it, provided that the room is nice.
Jacksonville went from 28th to 5th because of one thing. They got rid of the rats. Big
Mike, you
rat
want a room
problem.
on the next trip?
Absolutely not. I'm way too bouge. And certainly not with you.
Thanks.